Welcome again to another exciting feature of African American History Month here on DC Comics News. I'm here via Skype with a true talent in the acting and voice acting industry, Mr. Phil LaMarr. Hey, Mr. Phil LaMarr, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing just great. Now, I'm just going to roll off some of the things that I know that you participated in. Justice League, the voice of John Stewart, Green Lantern. Static Shock, the voice of Static and Virgil Hawkins.
Right.
Futurama, King of the Hill. Just you're like Mel Blanc, man. You know.
I wish.
And you know, I'm familiar with you before the voice acting with Mad TV.
Right.
Yeah. So, what's happening, Phil?
Nothing much.
It's gonna be a quick interview, huh?
Yeah, just doing my thing. Working on a cartoon for Netflix called Turbo Fast about racing snails.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's pretty good. Yeah.
This morning I was just over doing a character I do on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Baxter Stockman.
Oh, okay.
One of the villains over there.
Nice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Justice League and Green Lantern John Stewart. You know, when
I also did the voice of Steel.
Justice League Unlimited.
And wait, they didn't call him Stripesy. They had a different name for him.
Stripes.
Stripes.
Yeah, the rope.
You really call a grown man Stripes.
Yeah. You did a lot of
weird thing at the time, like the Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy. Like you look at him, it's like, oh well, Star Spangled Kid is probably the guy with this. No, the big guy. He's the sidekick.
The stepfather of Stargirl.
Right.
Yeah, I remember. All right, but let's talk about Justice League, man. John Stewart, because that was like, wow, one of the first times that, you know, a cartoon had brought on an African-American character to portray Green Lantern, because I know you're probably familiar with Super Friends like I am, because we're close to the same age, and, you know, it was all Hal Jordan and everything. So what was that like, bringing John Stewart to the small screen?
I was really psyched. I mean, I'm not a big, or at least at the time, I knew John Stewart just because, you know, as a black comic book reader, you know all of the black characters. Except, well, no, you know them all. I may not know much about Brother Voodoo, but I know he exists. And it was cool because Bruce Timm sort of explained it at the time, because as a comic book head, I asked in the audition, like, so is he like the second? He's like, no. In our world, John Stewart is the Green Lantern of Earth. Yes. He's not a backup Green Lantern or anything. And Bruce said the reason why he was really upfront. It's like, I didn't want to do a show where 7 white people saved the planet every week. So he made a conscious effort to diversify, you know. And the thing that I loved about it was it wasn't about him being Black Green Lantern.
Right.
You know, he wasn't Black Lantern. He was the Green Lantern. And this is who he was, and this is what his background was, and that's how it moved forward, you know, which to me is the best storytelling. I mean, I appreciate somebody being conscious of diversity and saying, all right, we're going to add this, you know, character of color. But it's too much of the time they make it about that and then are surprised when these stories don't work. I guess nobody wants to see these characters. Oh, well. And then there you go until Jesse Jackson complains again.
And I love the way that they had the relationship between him and Shaira, Hawkgirl, on the show. It was just like, wow, okay, they're really, you know, breaking ground.
The Thanagarians was one of those things where I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they had the Thanagarian invasion storyline in mind when they cast Maria Canals as Hawkgirl. But it wound up informing the story because they wound up casting all of the Thanagarians with actors of, you know, Latin descent. So they all had something in common.
Mm-hmm.
Culturally, vocally, whatever. So it became, and it was never mentioned, but it was this nice little subtext, this nice little undertone to it.
Yeah.
So instead of them being, we are Thanagarian, we are aliens, they had something that set them apart from the people on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I think that was something that just came out of, wait, we've cast this person, she's got this vibe, let's, propagate that and use it for our story. And again, it wasn't the point. It wasn't like, yeah, we are the Thanagarians. Our badges, we don't need no stickers. It wasn't that. It wasn't about the ethnicity. The ethnicity just added to the dimension.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's just good writing.
And it was great writing for its time. And switching gears for a moment, Static and Static Shock. I would sit down with my boys and this is how we did it back in my day. We grab a bowl of cereal and just watch the cartoons and everything, because kids WB, it was like a staple in our house, and watching Static with the whole family every morning. So
and it was a great show.
It was
a great show. It had action, it had humor, it had heart, and again, it was an African American leading character, but it wasn't about that. It wasn't like, every week was a different, problem in the African American community. It was simply this Virgil's life.
Mm-hmm.
Every week was a problem in his life, the same way it would be had he been a white lead.
Yeah, and it was great storytelling, for the world of Dakota City and everything that took place there. And like you said, if it was a green Martian or something that just happened to be, a teenager, he would still be dealing with some of the stuff that was going on.
And they just made it real.
One of the things I liked when you all did like crossover episodes with Static Shock and Justice League or vice versa, how did you do that with, when there was a scene with you as John Stewart and you as Virgil Hawkins? How did you do that? Did you record it like 1 hour a day you would come in and do Virgil, and then the next day you would come in and do John Stewart, or you would just be in the booth, so Virgil, and yes.
Yeah. The voices are not, it's not something that requires different days. I mean, they're definitely, John Stewart is down here, and Virgil is up here. I mean, although I have to say the first time we did the crossover on Static, we recorded it, me talking to myself, but then we went back and re-recorded the Virgil lines by themselves,
mm-hmm.
just to make sure, because, there's not much danger of me slipping into my natural voice when I'm doing John Stewart. This is a very solid placement. But when you're doing Virgil, when you're doing a voice that's higher, you always want to make sure it stays pure, it stays up here, doesn't slide back down to here.
Mm-hmm.
So going from here to here, it was like, well, let's just do one whole, read of the scene just like this to make sure Virgil doesn't get suddenly a little older halfway through the line.
Doesn't have a puberty moment or something where.
Exactly.
Oh, and one of my most favorite episodes from Justice League Unlimited was, I think it was titled The Once and Future Thing.
Yes.
Yeah, where you play.
They showed John's son in the future. That one.
Warhawk, yes.
Warhawk.
Yeah, and one of my favorite lines, I think I made a meme out of it, is what do you do when the weight of the world's on your shoulders? And John just plant your feet. That's like what I tell my boys. You just got to deal with it and deal with it as it comes. Gosh, there's so many questions that I want to ask you, and I just drew a blank just now.
Oh. I thought you were looking at a list of them. Like, which one?
Oh, is there a character? Oh, wait a minute. Forgot Young Justice.
Yeah.
Yes, you play Aquaman on Young Justice, and what's that like in a role that's traditionally cast Caucasian actor, and you come in and it's like you make it your own.
Well, it's funny because at first I auditioned, because they auditioned the main characters first. I auditioned for Aquaman, and I saw the whole design of Aquaman. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's not Nick Cardy's Teen Titans Aquaman. And then they called and said, oh, would you audition for Aquaman? I'm like, is this Black Aquaman? It's like, no. It's regular Aquaman. Like, oh, okay, all right. But yeah, Cardi, it was funny because I thought I did a really good audition for Aqualad until I heard Kari's audition, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
You got that sense of, teenness, but also alienness, and as Aquaman, I had to tap into what he was establishing. It's like, okay, we're from the same planet, but another world.
Right.
And their take, the Young Justice take on Aquaman was somewhat different from all the previous Aquamans, which I thought was good because that's a tough character, man.
Yes.
I always think of Aquaman as like, the fifth wheel of the Justice League, because one, nobody wants to do stories all the time in the water. So when he's part of a group, he's always, at a disadvantage. And I just think from the beginning, when they brought him in, it's like, all right, we got red and blue, we got blue and blue, we got green, we got another red and blue. So you can't have red, blue, or it's like, well, what's left? Orange?
Oh.
What do you do with the ocean?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's all we got left. So you're stuck with it, Aquaman. The fact that he was orange and green. Orange is really the most uncool, least superhero color you could be. Like, just put him in black.
Yeah.
I'm in a wetsuit. All right. But in 1960 whatever, I'm sure that wasn't like, well, that's boring. Kids don't want to look at that.
Right.
It'd be like, and I'm sure on that paper, that old paper, it would have just looked like a sludge. So,
I'm trying to be serious, Phil, so you're making me laugh during this interview. Please stop. You act like you have some background as a comedian or something. Now, come on. Oh, gosh. So, Aquaman, yes. You brought to the role a regalness, if you will, to the King of Atlantis, and it was. I would probably compare it to Justice League, but I think you took it a step further, almost.
Well, yeah, what Scott did on Justice League, and the Justice League conception of him was different. I mean, he was more of the warrior. I mean, that was the long-haired, hook-handed. I am Aquaman. Mine was a head of state. Mine was a king. And that, I mean, Greg Weisman, who created Young Justice along with co-created it, that was their concept. It's like, he is the king of an underwater land. He is an emperor. He is he runs most of the planet. So they wanted him to have, that feel. And also they had that Atlantean language. So there was a sense that he was speaking English as a second language, but not, he knew it well. There was no loss there.
Yeah, and there was regality, or just yes, I know you're Superman, but I am Aquaman and I rule a kingdom. Are there any new DC Comics related things that you may be involved in that you can tell us about, or?
Oh, that's the tough thing, because everything these days is super secret.
Hush, hush.
Yeah, I remember Young Justice. There was a whole thing. I think a friend of mine who worked on the show sent me a message, before we were going to record, and they said, "Hey, I'll see you at Young Justice today." Didn't say anything about the episode, what characters were playing, and got a message, "Hey, you can't say anything." I didn't say anything. I said I'm working. That's all. I'm trying to remember which stuff is out already. We also have that animation lag time. Like, we record it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not until a year later that people see it. There's I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There's definitely some DC stuff that I'm working on in the pipeline.
Okay.
And I guess, I don't know, can I give a hint without a spoiler? I'm getting a chance to play, because I'm a big Neil Adams fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing one of the characters from Neil Adams' heyday that I'm pretty sure he created the original design for.
Okay.
I guess I can't really say much more than that.
That's something for us to salivate on until it comes out, and then I'll just get in touch with you again and say, hey, Phil, can you talk to us about this Neil Adams project that you worked on? Oh, wow, that's great. Phil, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today on DC Comics News to celebrate African American History Month with us. And anytime you want to come back to talk to me or anybody, please let me know. It was great talking with you.
Okay, my pleasure, Kevin. Take care, man.
All right, you too, Phil.